I'm told by NFL executives USC's quarterback is the best quarterback prospect they can remember, better than Andrew Luck, a 5-tool guy. Led the nation in offense despite having only one great teammate the last 2 years. Daniel Jeremiah yesterday, about as smart as guy as our space has, said he'd be surprised if the Bears didn't take him number 1. Yes, they should take him number 1. He's a LeBron as a prospect. He's an Andrew Luck or a Trevor Lawrence. But people think in terms of football, not basketball, guys, he's better. And I want you to think about this. I want you to try to relate to this. You come out of college, you're number 1 in your law class. Not at your school, but in the country. You went to Duke or Virginia. You went to Cal, whoever has a good law firm or a good law school, Michigan, Texas, whoever, Virginia, whoever. Number 1. And you don't really have a choice where you go. And the law firm that has the number 1 pick has no history of winning consistently and is actually, for your position, quarterback, professional quicksand. Would you be a little anxious about it? The Chicago Bears are not a winning football operation. In the last decade, they finished last 50% of the time. They have a head coach that if he loses games in September, he's on the hot seat. They have the only defensive coach in the division, and the Packers and the Lions are young, really good at quarterback, winning with a ton of momentum. And Minnesota's always pretty good. And young quarterbacks overwhelmingly are as good as where they land. I mean, Justin Fields is 10-28. Do you think he'd be 10-28 if he inherited Andy Reid? I don't. The Bears have had one winning season in 11 years. They haven't won a playoff game in 14. They haven't had an offense in the top 15 in the last decade. It is Loserville offensively, and their division looks really, really, really good. And so there are concerns, and I pointed them out yesterday on the show from Caleb Williams and his camp. This is not the perfect destination. Washington at number 2, in my opinion, he's from there, is a much better landing spot. But I got a call yesterday from the Caleb Williams camp. By the way, he's got a very small camp. He doesn't have an entourage. He's got like an assistant for the NIL stuff, a marketing person. He doesn't have a big camp. He has a dad, big personality, smart guy, strong opinions, does his homework. Caleb and his dad don't always agree, but he's got a very big personality as a father. So I got a call from the Caleb Williams camp, and they went, whoa, Colin. We don't want to be painted as anti-Chicago, and we don't want to be painted as anti-Bear. And they made it clear to me that they said, listen, we don't want to go to a city that doesn't care. Chicago cares. They're big, loud, they're passionate. They fire coaches all the time. They care. We don't want to go to some Sunbelt place where you tarp off the upper deck. And they did say there is a path to succeed in Chicago. It's called the Houston Texans. Defensive coach, couple of weapons, cap space, good pick. They mentioned they got a second pick. There's a bunch of good receivers out there. LSU, Washington, they could go get another weapon, and they already have one bona fide number 1 pick. But it does show you the reality of Caleb Williams, and I've got sympathy for the athlete. I'm a radio guy. I could have failed at my first job. It didn't matter. I got a 50, 60-year runway. Start naming all the quarterbacks whose first spot was a disaster, and they resurrected it, and it just went great. And not many of them. And Caleb Williams is great, and all he wants to do is win, and he's super competitive. About my only criticism of Caleb Williams, he gets a little pissy after he loses. He gets very moody. He doesn't like to lose. He is hyper competitive. People banged on him because he cried after a loss this year, and I'm like, he cares. I don't want Jay Cutler, the greatest Bears quarterback ever. I don't want indifference. I want passion. So it's just very interesting to me is that, the Caleb Williams camp is like, and I wouldn't say, I've got people that are around the camp and around Caleb pretty well connected. He does not want to be viewed as a villain. He doesn't want to be viewed as anti-Chicago. He actually likes the fact it's a big, loud town. They talked about Jordan and the Bulls. They care. They're into it. They got money. But this is the dilemma, and I absolutely will defend players. John Elway said, no, thanks. He was right. Eli Manning to the Chargers, not going. He was right. And I think Caleb Williams, deep down, privately, has real concerns about the Bears. His dad has a strong personality and isn't afraid to say it, but they called last night and said, we do not want to be viewed as anti-Chicago. We don't want to be a villain. There's an avenue that this works. It's the avenue of the Houston Texans. We're staying very positive. We have some good vibes here, and we want to be the number one pick. But I'll say it again. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of concerns. And if I was 22 and I knew overwhelmingly my first destination doesn't go well, I got about a 10% shot to resurrect my career. And I'm a guy that my career matters to me. And he's a kid, his career matters to him. He does not like losing at all. And that's all Chicago does. We'll keep updating you. I love the fact they reached out. I love the fact that Chicago's talking about it, going on a couple of Chicago radio stations today, and I love that. But it's a real thing. It's a real thing. Chicago has not proven themselves to be a winning organization consistently, and they are a disaster offensively for most of my life. I couldn't tell you, and I'm sure there's one there, the last time Chicago had 4 or 5 straight years of like really dynamic offenses in their own division. That basically describes Green Bay for the last 30 years. Minnesota's always viable offensively. Now the Lions are great offensively. And Matt Eberflus goes 1-4 in September, and Caleb would be on his second coach. Not ideal. All right, speaking of not ideal, sometimes you just have to try to explain stuff. So the Boston Celtics have the best home record in the NBA. They had all their starters. They're a much better team than the Lakers. And last night, AD didn't play, and LeBron didn't play, and the Lakers went into Boston and rolled them. How, why, what does that mean? Well, first of all, it's the NBA regular season. It's very long. I just watched the Knicks dust the Nuggets by 38 points. Awful Detroit recently beat them in about the last week. Awful Detroit. Didn't watch the game, saw the highlights. Beat OKC. The Blazers a couple of nights ago, a really fun, exciting young team that's years away from being, contender viable, beat the Bucks, a contender viable team right now. So it's the regular season, and, my guess is LeBron and AD aren't playing, and all the starters see it. Oh, we're playing the Lakers JV team. And that's sort of the attitude they had going into the game. But it does concern me because I've said this before. I can't unsee things. I can't unhear certain things in sports. And I think about Jayson Tatum last night. Yes, I know he's talented and good and productive. But is he confrontational? They had 7 free throws last night. How about be aggressive? How about attack the Lakers? 7 free throws all night. Now, they hit them all, but 7 free throws. Why are the Lakers JV team basically getting any look they want defensively? So I watched the Celtics get trounced by the Clippers at home a week ago. I only watched the first half, but from the first minute of the game, the Clippers were far more aggressive. What would Michael have done? Where's the confrontation? Where's the yelling? Where's the arguing? Where's the sitting guys down in the huddle? I'm sorry, but there were concerns years ago about Steph Curry. Is Steph Curry a fighter, or is he just sort of a good shooter? And then remember that game against the Celtics in the finals? Warriors down 2-1. Steph Curry takes his outmanned Warriors to Boston and drops 43 and is all fight for 3 hours. And Jayson Tatum that night, bad shooting night, not efficient, shrinks. It's hard for me to unsee it. Austin Reeves last night, he did whatever he wanted to. I mean, literally just did whatever he wanted to. Whether you like him or not, in Boston, no LeBron, no AD, he's hot. Stop him, guard him, end it. Over. Nope. 7 free throws. Attack the basket. Nope. I just don't see in the biggest spots, I see an inconsistent fight from the Celtics. Sometimes there, sometimes not. And to me, that always comes down to, well, who's your star player? I'm not saying you can't have bad nights. Bucks lost to the Blazers. Nuggets rolled by the Knicks. Knicks are pretty good, though. Pistons beat OKC. It's the NBA season. It happens. But in the last week, the Clippers walk in there and roll them and take the game to them. And last night, no LeBron and no AD. And the Lakers got any shot they wanted. 114 points with no LeBron and AD. What was that? Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos, and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.